Welcome to On the Issues. I'm Vice Mayor Jim Waring. Joining me on today's show is Maricopa County's first female county attorney, Allister Adel. Allister, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's fantastic to have you on your first month in office. You got appointed by the board the end of last month, and it's really, I think, been a great opportunity for everybody to get a chance to know you and your work. Now, to viewers at home, they may not be as familiar, of course, but we've known each other for a long time, you know, with a shared fight against human trafficking, and you're president of my old Rotary Club. So yes. We had two things going on there. And if you could talk a little bit about your background, sort of introduce yourself to our viewers and what you hope to achieve as a county attorney.
Sure, I went to undergrad in Tucson at U of A, and then I went to ASU for law school. And I married my now husband. We've been together for 22 years. And we've got two little elementary school age boys at home, and we are absolutely loving living in Phoenix. It's a great place to live. I went to law school to be a prosecutor, and I started in the county attorney's office in 2004. While there, I did mainly vehicular homicides, but I also did a little bit of time in the gang bureau and the drug enforcement bureau. And from there, I took an opportunity with the Arizona Department of Transportation. I ran their executive hearing office, which is a quasi-judicial body on matters that ADOT regulates, so you're privileged to drive, for instance. And I really enjoyed that experience because it allowed me to learn how to be an administrator, learn how to run a budget, legislation, policy, and I found I actually even liked strategic planning a little bit.
And who would claim that? Who did not?
Right, exactly. So now people are probably going to call me to do that on the side, and I shouldn't have outed myself that I actually enjoy things like that, looking for a vision of where an office is going to go. From there, I did a brief term as General Counsel in the Department of Child Safety, where I really enjoy getting back to working with our vulnerable population. And from there, I threw myself into working with nonprofits quite a bit. You mentioned Rotary. I'm a proud past president of Phoenix Rotary 100. I'm going to be the first woman chair of the 100 Club next year. And I did a lot of consulting with nonprofits until I got another phone call saying the County Bar Association, so the Voluntary Professional Association of Lawyers, was looking to go in a new direction. And this is a 100-year-old organization with a tremendous legacy. So I worked with them for a little bit and made sure that they were going to be able to maintain that legacy and go on and do great things for another 100 years. And I always said that if my dream job came open and the stars aligned, I had to try. So when Justice Montgomery was appointed a few months ago, I knew that I had to at least put in for the board appointment.
Well, and you obviously made quite an impression. I think there were 8 applicants, if memory serves. Yeah, so you were one of the 8. And really qualified people. I knew several of them very well, but obviously the board pooled their collective resources and selected you. And I commend them on their choice. Obviously, I knew where your heart was in terms of fighting crime and everything from our discussions on human trafficking, but your civic mindedness had really stuck out to me, and I'm sure it obviously did to those elected officials who selected you. Now, you are finishing out a term, so next year, this isn't a political show, so we won't delve into that too much, but really it's an appointment for about 14 months, roughly.
Correct.
Yeah,
until the end of next year.
Yeah, so, and then voters will get to decide, going forward what happens. But I don't think people realize how many people you're going to be managing in this office. It's about 1,000 people, is that correct?
It's about 1,000 people. Yeah. The operations of the office are quite vast. The lion's share of the work we do is related to criminal prosecution, so protecting victims' rights, holding defendants accountable, and that's often what we're in the news for, and being accountable to the public on what we do with those cases. But there's also a lot of other work that the county does that no one really knows about. One of them that I'm particularly proud of is our community outreach work. We do a lot of work with different organizations or attending community events to talk about preventative activities such as signing the drug-free pledge, things like that for our students. We also do have a great program for victims where we actually have canines that go in and can comfort them when they're in court. And it's been tremendously helpful for them when they're in a very traumatic situation having to testify in trial, that they can have a therapy canine there with them at all times. Now, one of them started snoring when they were on the stand, so he is now there for us as the staff. And the other large component of what the county does is we have an entire civil division. So as county attorney, I'm also the lawyer for the Board of Supervisors and every county agency, from the recorder to doing elections in the recorder's office, to air quality and transportation. And so our civil division assists those groups with legal advice.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic at the county because you do manage, so many people, and the big cases that people hear about, not exclusively, but a lot of the big cases that you're going to see in the newspaper that happened here in the metropolitan area, go through your office. And just, obviously people focus on the horrible crimes, but I'm glad that you mentioned the other things that you do as the county attorney. It's not just about that, although that is a component that gets probably, my guess is by far the most publicity. Yes. And will get the most interest. So you have deputies, basically, other attorneys who work for you and take your guidance, but they prosecute the cases. How does that interaction happen? Do you weigh in on each case? Do they ask your advice? I've always been curious, how does that work?
Well, we have about 350 deputized attorneys in the office that we call deputy county attorneys. And we have an immensely qualified group of lawyers there. I couldn't be more proud to work alongside them. What happens is, depending on the case, law enforcement may even contact the prosecutor and have them come to the crime scene. That is a way for law enforcement and the prosecution to work together to make sure that the case is sound, that they are protecting the rights of the accused and the victims. So we even have lawyers that go out to scenes. It might be, in my case, I went to many vehicular homicide scenes. We go out if there's a homicide often, and then officer-involved shootings. The county attorney assigned to the case then reviews it, and if there's some sort of community interest in it, or the media is interested in it, they let me know what's going on so that we have a pulse of what the cases are in the office. I don't know about every case, obviously. We have a lot of work that goes through our office because we are the third largest prosecution agency in the nation. So it's about communication. Just kind of letting everybody know that this case has had media attention and this is what's going on with it. It is rare that I need to make a personal approval on a case, but sometimes it happens.
Did you say you have the third most cases? Did I hear that correctly?
We're the third largest prosecution agency in the country. We just surpassed Harris County in Houston.
Wow. Well, we have a huge county. We have
do.
about 4.5 million people in this
And
county.
growing.
And growing, fastest growing county, and we're the fastest growing city in the country, but the fastest growing county, and that's saying something given that people want to move here. But obviously with that comes more activity, unfortunately, of a criminal nature, and with the outreach efforts as well. You got more people you have to deal with. I was anxious to ask you that question simply because a lot of people watch police procedurals, right, and so forth. And so the interaction of how does that really happen from your perspective, I've heard it from officers' perspectives in the past. Sometimes the stuff you see on TV is accurate and sometimes not, but people I have found do think that's kind of the way it is. And so if you're watching an old episode of Hill Street Blues or something on TV, Allister was here to set you straight.
Well, and you know what? Some of it is accurate.
Yes.
Some of it is.
The officers have told me that too.
Yeah, some of it is accurate. We have a wonderful collaborative relationship with all the law enforcement agencies. And when we have prosecutors that specialize in certain areas of crime, they are there for many years in building strong relationships with the detectives. Whether it's sex crimes, family violence, gangs, they require a level of specificity in what they're doing. And so they work very, very closely with our police departments, as well as our general trial groups. We have something called community-based prosecution, so that we are having lawyers assigned to cases from specific areas of town so they get to know the community better, and that way they can be more effective in their job.
Well, I mean, that's outstanding to know as well. I have met one such person at police retirements and so forth because they do work so closely. Obviously, you just stole one of our police commanders, Tom Van Dorn, who I'll give him a shout out here, was an outstanding commander at Black Mountain Precinct that isn't exclusively in my district, but is overlaps with a large chunk of it. And he did a great job. We've always had, obviously, great police services, but he in particular did a wonderful job. But you guys went to law school together, and you stole him to be on your command staff.
I did. Commander Van Dorn and we did go to law school together. We've known each other for 18 years now, and I've followed his career and that unique experience he brings as a law enforcement officer and an attorney. I just couldn't pass it up. One of the tasks that Tom is going to have is we're going to create a group of lawyers, a bureau, specifically dedicated to assaults on our first responders. That is a very specialized population. We want to make sure that we are meeting their needs and having a victim advocate that they can go to that understands the unique vicarious trauma and PTSD situations that our officers and firefighters face at all times. So he will be busy, but he's going to have a lot of work ahead of him. We're so glad that he's part of our team.
Well, I commend you on your choice. You talked about the prosecutors who work for you, the deputies. A lot of them, this is their career. I mean, they're not, some go on to be, defense attorneys or what have you, but I think a lot of them stay and work full careers because they love to work so much. Obviously, the pay isn't maybe what you could get in the private sector, but clearly there's a very dedicated core staff that wants to stay. Do you have any idea, maybe an unfair question after only being there for a month, do you know how long the average stay is? Because obviously you got to learn how to do it right out of law school if that's how you're starting off, and then it's a specialized skill, and then to have the kind of expertise you're talking about and make the relationships with the police and others in the community, sounds like that's a lot.
It is. I can't tell you that, while I don't have an exact answer of our average tenure there, what I can tell you is being a prosecutor is the greatest job a lawyer can have. And there are so many people that have been there for a long time. So for me, it's been kind of like a homecoming, seeing a lot of familiar faces. The ones that have been there for a very long time, no one's in it to get rich. They're doing it because this job has so much meaning and purpose to it, and they care about our community and victims and the criminal justice system. I can also tell you that when people do leave, we want to empower them to go on and do great things. Maybe this isn't the job for them. Sometimes people get into this line of work and realize that maybe they don't want to be a trial lawyer. And like you said, some go be defense attorneys and serve in that capacity. Some go out to the civil world and practice there and take their expertise, having learned how to be a good trial lawyer. And a lot of them go onto the bench. So we're very, very proud that we have former prosecutors that have been appointed by Governor Ducey or appointed as a commissioner by the presiding judges.
Well, my grandfather was a judge back in Illinois, but he'd been a sole practitioner for years. But my dad said, because I was too young to remember, but he said before big cases, he'd actually get physically sick. I mean, it was very stressful and so forth, because you always see Richard Gere or somebody's playing a prosecutor or something like that in the movies with great verve, and they always know exactly the right thing to say, but it's a lot of stress, a lot at stake. You're prosecuting, major crimes, for example. You want to make sure you get it right, and there's a lot to remember and so forth. I'm always fascinated, when you see closing arguments or opening statements to keep all the information in your head. Sometimes they go on for a long time. So it's not for everybody, I'm sure, but for those who do it, we really owe a debt of gratitude.
Well, I appreciate that. I will send that along to our office. We actually have our annual meeting today, so I can share that with them. So thank you for that. The other key part of what prosecutors do, they have to protect the rights of the accused as well. Prosecutors wield a tremendous amount of power, and we take it very seriously in our office, that we are committed to being character-driven lawyers that are committed to ethical work in the courtroom as well.
And frankly, there have been issues around the country, certainly with prosecutions that, issues have arisen. I'm from Illinois, they definitely had their share. That's just one example, but you don't want to see that. So I appreciate you focusing on that, because it is something that we expect of public servants, but obviously there are sometimes variations. I have had the pleasure of knowing a couple appointed prosecutors, not in the county attorney's office, but they had a chance to walk away and make lots of money, but they loved the work. I mean, they really felt they were doing something really important, and both cases had to be basically sort of dragged away kicking and screaming, because the money's great, but there's another way to get a satisfaction. And I always think of that when I think of the folks who work in your office and what they do for us every day. Having said that, so you work we have a lot of elected officials at the county level, and so you're a little bit beholden to the board who just appointed you. They set your budget, correct? And then you have to work within the parameters of that budget, so pay raises, et cetera, that you mentioned are not solely up to you. Can you talk a little bit about that process? I know you haven't engaged in it yet, so you're inheriting Justice Montgomery's budget, But how does that work? How do you anticipate that going in the future?
Well, I'm going to learn a lot here really quick.
Because it's coming up.
It is. Budget time is coming up. One thing that I am committed to doing is looking at how we're allocating our resources now and trying to be judicious with them. We don't have unlimited funds at the county, and it's our responsibility to the citizens of Maricopa County to make sure that we're operating as efficiently as possible. At the same time, there are certain mission critical functions of the office that we have to perform, and we need to make sure that we have the resources we need. If we don't have enough prosecutors, then cases are going to be delayed getting to trial. If we don't have enough support staff to help us prepare those cases, that causes delays. So when we go into the budgeting process, we're going to look at all of that. I can tell you that we are looking to focus more efforts on diversion and having a more robust diversion program and allocating resources there. But talk to me again in a month and I might have a better answer for you on the budgeting process.
And it can be awkward when one group of elected officials is setting the budget for another. That's come up with some of the other offices as well, and including with one of your predecessors a couple generations ago. I guess I just wonder, when you talk about diversion, that's a big issue right now. Obviously nobody wants to see anybody go to prison. It's unavoidable in a lot of cases, but can you talk a little bit about what you envision? How would that work? How would the money be spent? If you have some fleshed out ideas of, like, how do we get people to not either, recidivism is obviously a huge issue, so not to recommit crimes and go back to prison, or how does that work to your mind?
We need to start looking at the offense, the offender, not the offense, because historically, we look at what they're charged with and make an assumption, when really what might be driving them might be a mental health issue. It might be a drug addiction. So if we look at who the offender is and how we can get them services, treatment, whatever they need to get back on their feet so they don't reoffend, those are the type of cases that we're looking at. Now, we're not talking about gang members, violent offenders, sex offenders, predators. We're not talking about those type of cases. These are the person who has made some poor decisions that perhaps if we can get them back and working and contributing to the economy and society, that's where we need to focus our efforts. If we're able to reduce that recidivism rate out there, it just benefits the community and the economy as a whole.
How does that work within the confines of mandatory sentencing? So how do you make that work and still achieve the goals that you're looking to achieve?
When we have cases that fall into a mandatory sentencing area, those wouldn't even be considered for diversion at all, because when we're talking about mandatory sentencing, somebody has either had a couple of prior convictions or they've done something with a weapon where we're not going to send those cases out to diversion. Those are the types of people we need to hold accountable and go after aggressively. At
the risk of editorializing, I've always had that concern because people bag on, for lack of a better word, mandatory sentences. I'm not sure if they totally process, who we're talking about here and the crimes that have been committed. So I'm happy to hear you say that. And the sentencing isn't, solely up to your office. You can request within parameters, if I'm correct in that, and then you work out from there. I suppose at some point you get a little bit of leeway in that sense with the offender, but probably not too much, is my guess.
You are correct. If we are engaged in a trial situation and the defendant is convicted, it's up to the judge to work within the sentencing range that is allowable under the law, and they decide what that ultimate sentence is based on the facts found by the jury.
Do you get to weigh in on that process at all? It's come up recently, the college admissions scandal, for lack of a better word. You read about the prosecutors asked for this much and the defendant doesn't want to go to jail at all or whatever, and so they submit their arguments and then the judge decides. Is that the way it works here in our county?
Basically, yes. We give our prosecutors the ability to start being free thinkers and critical thinkers that they went to law school for, and it is certainly not me that's going to be imposing upon that. They know the cases far better than I do. However, if it's a high-profile situation or a community interest case, then somebody in our office might weigh in on that. But they know their case better than anybody. So when they're making a sentencing recommendation, we have confidence that they're making the appropriate and just one that they believe is fit for the crime itself.
Now, forgive me for saying this. This next question is slightly dated. None of us are getting any younger. You've been through this process as a rookie county prosecutor, for lack of a better term. I mean, what was that like just coming in? Were you straight out of law school, or did you have some experience? I mean, how many cases did you have? How long before they said, yep, go out and use your best judgment? I assume it wasn't probably the first day. So how did that go?
I was really fortunate to have done several internships at the county attorney's office. There is a Arizona court rule in Arizona that law students can actually try cases under the supervision of a lawyer. So it's great for those of us that want to be prosecutors or think we might want to be prosecutors to get real trial experience. And then as soon as I passed the bar, they let me out into the courtroom on my very own. But it was my first job out of law school. And
it sounds like that might be a little bit unique to you because you had this other experience.
You know, the county attorney's office is a tremendous way to get training to be a good trial lawyer. And so we often have several new lawyers that come into our office and get trained on how to do the work that they do. For me, it was a timing thing where I actually got moved up to what we then called major crimes, so vehicular crimes, within a year of my starting. And that just depends on where the office is as far as hiring and where the needs are, where we need to staff people. So I learned very quickly how to handle a high caseload and to juggle being on call and charging cases, and it was a fantastic experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Did you ever get to the point where you sort of said, I want to specialize in this kind of case? Is that how that works? You know, you work up in seniority and you get an expertise and you're like, I really like that part of the job, that's what I want to do. Is that the way it works?
That's exactly how it works. We have many areas where lawyers can specialize, or maybe they want to be in leadership one day. Perhaps they want to go to the homicide bureau to try homicide cases. So you just start kind of getting a feel for what your interest is, where you can be passionate about it, because we don't want to put somebody doing fraud and identity theft and document crimes if really they want to be working more with drug and wiretap investigations. We want them to really enjoy what they're doing and so that they are invested in it. So as a young lawyer working your way up, you kind of start to see, well, you know what, I think I really would like to do wiretap cases or domestic violence. I care passionately about this. And so you just kind of make your preferences known and then see when the openings happen. As for me, I knew that I wanted to be in vehicular crimes. I found that area of law very fascinating but also challenging because of the science aspect of it. So I made my preferences known early on, and I was fortunate enough to be placed in the bureau that I wanted to go to, and I was there for 5 years.
Well, you mentioned that about the science, so I don't think people totally grasp it. To the extent I do, and I can't obviously put myself in the prosecutor's places, you got to learn a lot of stuff about a lot of different stuff. We face that a little bit as elected officials too. You know, we own the airports. We got to learn a little bit about aviation just to be dangerous and make intelligent decisions with budgeting and what have you. In your case, how did you do that? Did you have a science background? I mean, I would think it'd be a lot of physics and angles, and I mean, how does that even come to be?
A lot of listening and a lot of learning. I have to tell you that my undergraduate degree is in political science. My dad affectionately calls it the unemployment degree. So I had no science background.
I have one too, but you're not hurting my feelings.
Yes,
Yeah.
And look where we are now.
Yeah,
It's
there you
served
go.
us well. You know, the police officers and the forensic scientists, the people at the crime lab, they really educate you on what to do and what not to do and how this works. In vehicular crimes, for instance, you are looking at collision reconstruction. You're looking at blood alcohol levels and getting some of the same exact training that law enforcement
And
gets.
defending all that data too, because you're the one who has to go out and really defend it. They can answer questions that you put to them, but I always thought that's fascinating.
It is because
Seems like it'd be really hard.
It is really hard. At the same time, you know, I think all of us like to learn new things, especially as lawyers. So whether it's learning about the medical examiner's process or for instance, sometimes we have to learn a little bit more about an area we never thought we would. Now, especially with body cams, we're getting a lot more evidence, everything down to DNA testing, all the rest of it. So prosecutors have so much science that's available to us in investigative modes that we have to learn about what those are in order to use them effectively.
You mentioned something, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but the body cameras. So Phoenix is rolling out the body cameras. I am curious, your thoughts, how helpful they are. It just seems like, and this is really solely from reading about cases mostly in other jurisdictions on my part, it seems a little bit mixed in terms of what the cameras can do. Obviously, they don't capture everything. They don't necessarily generate context. Your thoughts?
Some of this might be a better question for Chief Williams.
Yeah, I understand.
But I can tell you that we all want to know more about what actually happened. And if it's able to give us a fuller picture of what occurred, then we welcome that, good or bad. It might be helpful, it might not be. So I think that the fact that we have that technology available is helpful. We're learning to work our way through it as far as the volume that's coming in. I would like to be very clear that we are being more collaborative with the police departments on whether or not they're going to release body cam or any video footage. And we're working our way through that with each department. You may have seen last week Chief Williams released a critical incident video, and it's the first that they've done of those. And I think you'll end up seeing more. But again, we worked with her on that to make sure that we're protecting victims' rights and due process rights of the defendant.
Because that is tricky, right? What to release and what not. I mean, it could influence, I think I'm using the right jargon here, the jury pool if you put everything out there. So that is not simply a public relations decision. It's more of a, what's appropriate and what's not. Is that a fair statement?
It is, and they are public records, so we have to comply with public records law, but be sensitive to all the things that you just mentioned as well.
Well, I appreciate your willingness to do this. You talked a little bit about some of the things that you'd like to see with the office, talking about diversion and so forth. We're anxious to see what you do with the 14 months that you have here. And I just think I, having known you for several years now, really appreciate your willingness to take this on, because there are easier ways. It is not the glamour patrol that I think some people think in terms of being an elected official, and this is one that's particularly tough. I know you guys probably got to travel with security and so forth, and it's just, it is a life-altering thing for you and for your family. So at least as one citizen of Phoenix and one citizen of the county, I do appreciate the fact that they were willing to take this on and lend you to the public good, and we appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you very much. I have a wonderful, supportive family and a great team around me, and it's an honor to serve in this position. I cannot think of a better position in public service than this, so I am just really proud, and I'm going to work hard and for the citizens of Maricopa County and make everybody very proud.
Well, we'll see if you're saying the same thing. We'll have you back in a year if you're willing to do it.
Perfect.
After intemperate questions, and we'd love to have you back. And thank you, Allister, for coming out.
Me.
If you have questions or comments, please call my office at 602-262-7445 or visit my website at phoenix.gov/district2. And we look forward to seeing you next time on The Issues.